Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Master RKO, and today I'm bringing you guys another video, hopefully that will help you guys through League Play. As we know, it's getting that much closer to the point where League Play will be released for Black Ops 4, and as of now, the Call of Duty World League Pro rules have officially been announced, so we're going to go through those today and hopefully get a better look at the way the rule set's going to be played out, what game types and maps we're going to be playing, what things are going to be banned, restricted, and at least take a look at what's going to be coming up within the next few months. It's going to be looked at, tweaked, and hopefully we can go from there as to get a glimpse into what League Play is going to look like. So we'll go ahead and get started as we're going to look at the official rule set that was released by Treyarch. If you do want to follow along while I read along with these and give some of my input, the link to these rule set will be in the description, so go ahead and click on that if you want to read along. I'll give you guys just a second to go ahead and do that, and then we will continue on with the reading. We're going to be going over what maps, what modes, stuff like that. I'm going to be showing you guys what the maps are, just in case you are new to either League Play or the game. Maybe there's a few maps you're not completely familiar with, and just to go over some things that we'll be looking at, of course, later in the year when we start going over more technical things for League Play and some of the things we get into. So, what is the rule set? Now, the easiest way to describe what the CWL rule set is, or the Call of Duty World League rule set is this is the guidelines in which the professionals play their game. Now, the pros do not play the same way that you play when you hop on in your Xbox or your PlayStation or PC at 10 o'clock at night and play with your friends. This is a completely different rule set. Different game modes and game types have specific maps they play on. They have specific timers for things and just completely different rules. Some of them stay similar, but the minor details can kind of get overlooked, especially when you're jumping into something like League Play. Now, League Play doesn't necessarily follow these rules to a T, but they're the closest thing to playing as a professional, I guess, that you'll get besides actually going to a tournament. Now, these are the Pro League rules. They will be transferred into League Play at some point when they eventually release it. So with that being a thought, these are at least something to look at before they make the final adjustments as some of the pro tournaments become available and League Play eventually becomes an update into the game. So, first and foremost, one of the newer game types, Control. And if you don't know what Control is, it's a new game type that was added in by Treyarch in this game specifically. To make it short, teams alternate attacking and defending 2 capture zones. All zones must be captured to win the round. Now, that brief description isn't completely correct. So in a sense, each team will have either side to attack and defend, kind of like Search and Destroy. You start with 25 lives for your team. And as every death happens, you lose a life, I guess. And then once your team starts to get down to 5, 4, 3, eventually your teammates can't respawn anymore. And then if you reach 0, the round ends. Now, normally in the game, I believe it would say how many rounds you get. Let me see here if I can quickly do this for you. So, win conditions, there's normally only 3 rounds. 5-round limit, so it's a best of 3. In the current settings, it doesn't say that they've changed too much on the actual game type. So it looks like they're going to stick with the same objectives. This is the first thing on the actual CWL Pro League list. Settings, it's going to have a 2-second respawn delay. Okay, so there will be a respawn delay on Control for this. Normally there's not. So there'll be a 2-second respawn delay, a 15-second pre-match timer, 5-second pre-round timer, Other than that, there's nothing too much that's changed, so it looks like it might stick with just a 3-round limit. First team to 3. That may change. They may make that a little bit more or less, kind of like they do with Search and Destroy. But for right now, it's going to stay with the round limit 5, rounds to win 3. So basically what it is you have your certain amount of lives, and there are 2 points on the map. Attacking team has to either capture the 2 points or completely eliminate the enemy team. And the defense has to either stop them from getting the 2 points and letting time run out, or completely eliminating the attacking team. So there will be some strategy in this. The fact that there is a 2-second respawn delay will actually make this kind of interesting. So that will help, but that is basically the new game mode. It's going to take place of Capture the Flag, or there was Blitzbach and Ghosts. Uplink has been one that they've kept in, and they went back to Capture the Flag the last couple years. So this year it's going to be this new game, Control. Now, the maps that this game mode will be played on. It will be on Arsenal, which is the one you see here. That's kind of got the 2 lanes on it. Fairly decent map. I personally like it. Frequency. That is the map that's kind of in the jungle. It's got the facility on it. Gridlock, which is the map with the trains, kind of like the Japanese style map there. Jungle, which is the one map that everyone's kind of having problems with, just because Jungle can be kind of just a chaos map in of itself. Payload, which is the map in like the Snow Stronghold. I have not played a Control match on this map, so I personally not too sure on how that'll play. And then Seaside is the final map there, and that's the one with the giant church in the middle. It's got the different areas. That one actually is a really good Control map because of where the spawn points are. So that's pretty interesting to see that they've got some of the better maps on there. The jungle's really the only real question mark, and maybe Payload. That one could be a question too, I guess, just because I haven't played it. But those are your maps for Control. That's what you're going to be looking to play. We're not too sure if they're going to have, for League play, like a map vote system like they have in the past couple Call of Duties, or if it will just be where they throw you into a game. Personally, if there's a map vote system, I highly doubt there's a lot of Control played. As we know, in the last few Call of Duties with ranked play, Hardpoint and Search and Destroy were the main game types that were played. If you were on the lower side of ELO, like Bronze, Silvers, lower Golds, you played a lot of Search and Destroy. And if you were more higher Golds, Platinums, Diamonds, Masters, they all played Hardpoint. You never really played too much CTF, unless like more than a couple people voted for it. So this one you may play every once in a blue moon, and you may want to get at least an introduction to it, and we can even do that later if it's requested, just in case you get one of those few weird matches where you get thrown into one. Moving on from that, the second game type that is being played is Hardpoint. Yes, Hardpoint's making another return. Everyone likes the game type, even though some people would rather have Domination as the game type. I personally feel, especially with this game, the way it's played, Hardpoint is definitely the better respawn game type. It leaves for a better chance of comebacks. With all the specialists and stuff like that, it's a pretty decent game type, just where you can have different outcomes and strategies and stuff like that. And as we see later with some of the bans, it can be affected pretty interestingly with different specialists and player play as well. So as we move down, Hardpoint, for those who don't know, for that one, there's basically going to be a spot around the map. To score points, you have to at least have one person inside that point at all times. If someone of the enemy team is in there while a ally is in there, it's considered contested. Nothing happens. The time just runs. If an enemy team's in it, they score points. After, I think it's like a minute, minute and a half. Actually, I think it's only a minute. After a minute, that hard point rotates to another spot, and then you have to go do that. Normally there's about a 4 to 5 hard point rotation where it goes around the map, and then it starts over again. So the key is to get set up, guard the hard points, and get as many points as possible. And either get the max point total, which is 250, or be ahead when the time runs out, because the time runs while there's no one in the hard point or it's contested, but the time does not run while there are points being added. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the hard point maps as we go back through those. That would be also Arsenal, another good map, and I think that's going to be in all of the game types, and I personally like the map. Contraband, which is more of like the tropical map, that one's also a pretty decent hardpoint map as well. Frequency gets another map as well for hardpoint. That one I haven't played too many hardpoints on, but it seems fairly spread out, so that's good. Gridlock, another decent hardpoint map where some of the hardpoints end up being. And that one gets picked again for this game type. Seaside is picked for a hardpoint map. This one I like too, just because of where they're at, and you can kind of rotate spawns in a certain way and play them to advantages. Slums makes its return for Hardpoint. Everyone knows this is a fan favorite from Black Ops 2. Everyone loved playing this for Hardpoint. This was a go-to game type when it came to playing Hardpoint. It was a capture the flag map too. It was just one of the perfect maps to play on. I still love playing Hardpoint on it. So I'm glad it can make its return. It's actually going to be in another game. And then we go to Summit. Now, Summit was not in Black Ops 2's map rotation as the map uplink when it was all rainy and stuff. And it wasn't in the I don't think it was in the original Black Ops run either, because there was no hardpoint back in the original Black Ops. So it's going to be interesting to see it make a hardpoint entrance. It is a smaller map, so I'm interested to see how it plays, and it's very congealed, so it's going to be a very high kill map. And I'm going to assume that if a team can really lock it down and get 2 or 3, they can pretty much just score streak the entire map. And I feel like this is going to be, if it's ever picked and not vetoed through the Pro League, or even if it's even in games like these, there are going to be a lot of one-sided matches on this map. Hardpoint settings, they're actually going to make it to where there's a 2-second respawn delay, so it's not going to be instant, which is kind of nice, especially because it's going to be small. There's a 3-second suicide penalty, and then, of course, the 15-second pre-match timer. Nothing too crazy there. And do keep in mind, again, some of these rules will not completely apply to League play. So, for instance, there may not be the 2-second timer for the Pro League for this. But those are going to be the rule sets for Hardpoint, and those are the maps for Hardpoint. Now we move back into a game type that I haven't actually played too much at in this game. I think the next couple weeks or so I'm going to get back into playing this game type when it comes to getting into League play, because you're going to play it a lot, especially if you're in the lower ranks, and that is Search and Destroy. Now, as I just said, Search and Destroy, silvers, low golds, bronzes, we're not even sure what the ranks are going to be. I remember usually in like League play they have iron too, so it's like most of the time you see the lower ranked players playing this just by votes alone, just because with Search and Destroy, anybody can have a few lucky rounds and get wins off of people. You'll see a lot of the higher skilled players playing the respawns. So for Search and Destroy, the way that this one's set up for some of the rules, the time limit for the rounds have been decreased. I believe it's normally 2 minutes. It's now going to be 1:30. A minute 30. Normally, in Search and Destroy, there are it's the first to 4 rounds. Now it's going to be the first to 6 as per usual. For ranked play in CWL, if you've played any League plays, you know this rule set's like the back of your hand. Of course, no respawn, because Search and Destroy. The plants are silent, so you don't have to worry about people hearing that kind of stuff. And of course the pre-match timer. stays the same. And for those of you who don't know and maybe just completely new to Call of Duty, Search and Destroy. Search and Destroy is basically you have an attacking team and a defending team. There are two bombs on the map. The attacking team's job is to either A, plant the bomb at one of the bomb sites and defend it until it explodes, or B, eliminate all the enemy team. The defending team is either to eliminate the enemy team completely, or if the attacking team plants the bomb, to then defuse the bomb, either by eliminating their entire team and defusing, or defusing just while people are alive. But that is Search and Destroy. So, the one rule that I actually don't see that normally is in some of the Search and Destroys, especially with ranked play usually, is normally they change the defuse time from 5 seconds to 7.5 seconds. I don't see that as a rule yet, and keep in mind this is the first draft, and these are all subject to change, so maybe they're waiting to add that to see if it's needed with some of like the team scrims and practices that are coming out. However, keeping that in mind, that's not been added yet, so it could be interesting to see how that manages to play a part. However, let's get into some of the maps. Once again, Arsenal is chosen, and I think Arsenal is going to be one of the main favorites, especially for some of the game types. It plays very well, and I like the way it plays for all game types. So I'm glad they're using it as one of the all around for every single game type. This one's the weird one. Firing range gets put on to Search and Destroy. For some reason in this game, it just feels kind of like a small map. Maybe it just could be like with Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1, the movement was a little bit slower. I'm not too sure. I just feel like this map is very congested. Even though I'm glad they brought it back, it still feels kind of small. For it being S, I think this is going to be where a lot of utility is used to make sure that people are alive, and you're going to see a lot of snipers come out. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and if it gets banned at all in map veto, stuff like that, and see how many people actually decide to play it. Moving on, we go back to frequency. That one's getting played as well, and I believe that's another one that gets all three game types. They seem to like this one a lot. I haven't played S&D on this map yet, but it is a fairly balanced map. You just have to play it in a certain way. I feel like it can be hit or miss with some people. Gridlock gets selected for another game type. That is another one that's going to be on all three maps. This one, I feel that like this one could be a very good one too, especially by the way it's got the 3 lanes. Fairly decent. I feel like if Capture the Flag was going to be in the game, this would be a very good CTF map. Hacienda finally gets selected for a game type, so we have 2 maps that only have S&D as their only game type. Hacienda, another map that I think probably would have been good for a Hardpoint. I personally enjoyed it as a Hardpoint map, and I wish it was still one. Unfortunately, it just didn't get selected as a map. What do you want to do? As an S&D map, it probably will play pretty well. I know it plays pretty good as a control map too, but we'll see it more in S&D. So, with that being said, we will eventually go through a lot of these maps, especially with their game types, and go over them at some point. So, stay tuned for that. But Hacienda gets chosen as an S&D map. Payload is also chosen as an S&D map. I think the only thing that it does not have is Hardpoint, which is okay by me. But this map seems to play very slow and methodical. There's not too much pushing and shoving, so S&D on this map will be pretty interesting, especially with how some utilities work. And then Seaside is the last map that's chosen for S&D. Another map that I just haven't played Search and Destroy on yet. I need to get through Search and Destroys and just kind of see how the maps kind of play out. It's something I need to get into doing, and maybe we'll do a couple streams about that. But it plays pretty well with hard points. It plays pretty well with controls. This is another map that's going to get every single game type. It's a pretty balanced map. I love playing on it. It was one of the first maps I played in the beta, and it was really good. It was really fun to play on. So that takes care of Search and Destroy and the maps that they're on. Now, as we move away from maps and game types, we're going to go ahead and jump back down into restrictions. Now, for those of you who may be new to restrictions, this is where things kind of get interesting. So, restrictions for those who are new are bans or, in the same term, restrictions of items, classes, guns, abilities, equipment, score streaks that are banned from being used. They're not allowed to use them. Usually, League Play follows this pretty much to a T, except for sometimes a couple things. But most of the time, they follow it pretty strictly. So these are just things that you will not be allowed to use in League Play. You won't even be able to use it as a create a class. So it will just be a completely unavailable item. So, speaking in terms of specialists, the only specialist restricted from being used is Nomad. And the specialists in the game will be used by one player on each team. So you won't be able to double pick specialists. You will pick one specialist per player. I'm assuming for like CWL they might do picks and bans for that. I don't know. But I do know for like Black Ops 3 you had a pick and ban system, but they may just skip that. We're not too sure. As we move on to specialist equipment, which is going to be their secondary ability, the sensor dart for what's his name? Recon. That will not be able to be used. The sensor dart is basically you shoot out a dart, it sticks somewhere, and you get a small radius of the your radar active at all times, and you can see people. And this is the one that's interesting, and that changed the way I play things, but it will also change the way Hardpoint is played, and that is the TAC deploy by Seraph. Now, what the TAC deploy does, for those who haven't seen some of the descriptions in one of my older videos, the TAC deploy is basically a spawn beacon. You set it down somewhere outside of an objective, and anybody can spawn there, and it can basically affect spawn points, affect anchoring for different areas. It's highly used in hardpoints, highly used in controls, but it's only restricted in hardpoint and search and destroy. You can use it in control to set up for control spots, to hold places down, but in hardpoint it cannot be used. And a lot of people use Seraph to set up for hardpoints, to set up for flank, stuff like that. The fact that she's restricted for that, and I don't know if these are going to be restrictions in League Play or not, but for the Pro League they are, so while you're practicing, it's better to practice not using her than it is to use her and then have to switch to something else as a main. So while you're practicing for League Play, try to stay away from Seraph for a little bit. As we then move in from some of the fine tuning that's going to be going on, and the specialist gear, some equipment they're going to be tweaking, I guess, especially after like the CWL Las Vegas, the tournament that's going to be coming on. Some of them they're trying to look at maybe changing the TAC deploy to only be able to spawn so many people, or having like the reactor core only have certain amount of strength, radius, or damage. And like the durability of this is all for, and like the durability of Torque's gear might be lowered a little bit. So these are all things that they're going to get into that will hopefully help the balance of the game a little bit. Now, as we go down a little bit further, I'm just making sure that I don't miss anything. As we move down a little bit further, we go into weapon restrictions. Now, weapon restrictions are going to be guns you cannot use. Most of them are LMGs, just like most games. The Titan, the Hades, and the VKM are banned. Those are the LMGs. They ban them, mainly because no one uses them. And I know that's kind of a dumb way to ban things sometimes, but at the same point in time, you know, why make it more difficult for people that get in? And no one's going to watch 5v5 with people running around with LMGs. Also banned the MOG and the SG2, which I believe are shotguns. Yep, both shotguns are also banned, as well as the Helion Salvo rocket launcher in certain conditions. So it's got a temporary restriction. As of right now, it's being allowed in competitive play, but they're going to tune it to where it will have less damage on players and just mainly be used for like for score streaks, like to shoot down attack choppers, to shoot down hellstorms out of the sky, stuff like that. So basically they're wanting to keep rocket launchers in the game. As for right now, they're wanting it to not affect player-to-player combat, though, which is the main goal. So as for right now, they are restricted until the tuning update is released, which will be announced at a later date. So right now they're restricted. The rocket launchers are restricted, but they will be released later. Now, normally when they ban something in League play, it doesn't change with CWL. So bank on the rocket not being allowed. As we move on from there, we look at banned attachments. It's going to be these down here with some of the guns. So, as we move through, high caliber is banned, mainly because of the headshot damage. High explosive is banned, which only makes sense because high explosive is the basically the attachment for the rocket launchers. Laser sight is banned, just for the hipfire stuff. Or laser sight 2. So I guess there is a gun that has laser sight 2. I'm going to quickly go through here and see if I can find one that has that. There it is, laser sight 2. Let me see what that does exactly. Laser sight 2, maximize hipfire accuracy and no hipfire penalty while moving. I understand why that's banned now. Alrighty, so basically, yeah, they don't want people hipfiring across the map. Max load is banned. Not too sure what that is. I feel like that's an LMG thing. Not too sure. It's either an LMG thing or like a shotgun thing. Don't see anything, so I have no idea. So max load is banned. Rapid fire is banned, obviously. Rocket cache is banned. That's for the rockets. And then steady grip, which is grip 2. That is banned as well, so that's going to affect your ICR play from the setup that I gave earlier. So for those of you who are running double grips on your ICRs, you may want to start looking into maybe using the Vapor a little more, the Maddox maybe, and just running the ICR with its own, without the double grip as well. So those are your attachments that are banned. The only optics that are banned are fast locks. I'm not too sure as to what fast locks are. Okay, fast locks are on rockets as well. That's just to lock on targets faster. So those are banned, obviously, because of rocket launchers. As we move down into perks, the only ones that are banned are Gung Ho. So you can't be firing your weapon and using equipment while sprinting. You don't recover from sprint faster. Um, and you don't move at full speed when you're reloading. Makes sense. Skulker, which basically lets you move. Where is that? There it is. It lets you basically move at walking speed while crouching, and you move faster while proning. Team Link, which lets you see through walls and reveal fog of wars around your teammates. Obviously, they're going to want you to use more communication and get into working with your team, so that's obviously banned. And Tracker, same thing. Alerting footsteps, revealing enemy fog of war, stuff like that. They're not going to want. Moving down into wild cards, Overkill is banned as per usual. They're not going to want you to have two primaries. I think the last time Overkill was allowed was Ghosts. Or no, it was allowed in IW as well. Black Ops 3, I think, was the first real Overkill ban. And even then, I think IW was the first game that actually enforced the Overkill ban. So, interested to see if they keep that out or put it in of League play. Sometimes they'll let that one in, sometimes they won't. Personally, I like Overkill being in the game because it allows S&D to have that little bit of risk-reward. Or not really risk-reward, but just that extra bit of, hey, you can use a sniper rifle, and it kind of teases you with it. But I understand why they keep it out, risk-reward. You know, if you want to use a sniper rifle, you're going to be, you know, you're going to get caught with your pants down. And the fact that pistols are very decent in this game, I honestly see a lot of people using sniper rifles. Primary and secondary operator mods are off, so guns that have operator mods, and if you don't know what those are those little things on the bottom that say operator mod to let you use them. Certain ones have certain things, so you won't be able to use your operator mods on any of your weapons. Not all weapons have one. So for instance, like if you want to use Echo Fire on your medics, you cannot use that anymore. So if you're using operator mods, get used to not using them. Same thing with your double grip on your ICRs. So both for secondaries and primaries. So even if your secondaries have operator mods, you still can't use them. So, you know, if you're running around with your Skull Splitter on your Mozu, you can't use it anymore. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. I wish you could, but you can't. Moving on to Scorestreaks. Yes, Scorestreaks are still banned. They're always going to be banned because there's ones that you just don't need to be in the game when you're playing ranked play. UAV is banned as per usual. Care package is banned also per usual. Counter UAV is banned as also per usual. Sentry is banned, which is an interesting one. Sometimes they normally keep those in. And Mantis is banned. That one I'm not surprised. The one few that I'm surprised are still in, I'm surprised they allow attack choppers in, with the fact there's no ability to really counter them yet. So I'm surprised they let that stay in. But everything else, I mean, everyone's pretty much going to be using probably RC Hellstorm Lightning Strike or Hellstorm Lightning Strike attack chopper like normal. I'm surprised they didn't ban Strike Team, to be honest. But that'll probably be edited at some point. I wouldn't be surprised. And then the only gear that was really banned is the acoustic sensor, and the gear is the stuff up here. The only one that's not banned is acoustic sensor, and this one got a really big call out, especially with some of the pros, because body armor for some reason is still allowed, which no one understands. I get it, they nerfed it, and it's not that big of a deal, and especially for like me, I don't personally care. I still do well even with even not using body armor, and other people using body armor. So I guess that'll be interesting to see how that works. Acoustic sensor, being able to hear people easier. You know, dead silence is already not even dead silence, so why even bother having acoustic sensor as a thing? So that has been banned as well. Now here's where we get into some of the optional things where I don't think they're going to put them into League play, because they never really do. But if you're following the Pro League, this will make more sense. Friendly fire enabled, that's usually never in league play just because people are assholes. Battle chatter disabled, that one usually is just because, you know, they want the teams to be calling out, not the AI. Revenge voice disabled because they're using headsets. Announcer disabled, that one's your own personal preference. Third person spectating disabled, that one's always disabled. Third person gestures disabled, that one, I get it. Gesture camera controls disabled, it goes with the other one. And then team assignment open, that's only in private matches, we don't have to worry about that, so just ignore that. So, even though this has been a bit of a longer video, this is the complete rule set, volume 1, I guess. These are all subject to change, and we will definitely be going over these as those rules change, as the weeks come. Basically, the big keys to really take away from this, if you're practicing for league play like I am, if you're grinding out the days, if you're putting everything together, is, and if you've made it this far into the video, the maps that are there, try to practice them, go into private matches, look at the maps, find your routes, find what you're wanting to do, get friends together that you want to play with, get strategies down, get callouts down. So then the maps are there. Don't play Nomad because he's banned. Don't use sensor darts, so don't use recon really. Don't really use Seraph either if you're playing Hardpoint or Search and Destroy. And then if you're using, you know, any of the banned weapons, don't. And especially with the ICR, don't use double grip anymore. Just the main key is to not get yourself used to using stuff that's banned and then go into league play and, you know, have a couple bad games, especially with your placements. Other than that, I think that's going to do it for us. If you've been following along, you'll know that that's the end of the list anyways. Once again, link to the rule set will be in the description. I'm going to be releasing a video sometime next week with a kind of a list of detail of some things that I'm going to be wanting to be planning for the next couple months or so, going into league play, getting things going on, because I do have some plans for you guys leading up to league play and then getting into the season of league play. And just some ideas to keep the content flowing for you guys and to have information, stuff that's useful, and kind of getting just to the routine that I get into when it comes to playing league play, making yourself better, learning off of mistakes, learning off of things. So, you know, we're going to get into that a little bit more later next week, so keep an eye out for that. So if you do want to learn what's to come, what kind of videos you can expect, kind of videos you can get some of your league play education from, click that subscribe button, click the like button if you like this video and it kind of gave you some knowledge. And if you're wanting some extra knowledge of some older videos, whether you don't know what some of the specialists are or whether you're wondering what some of the guns are that we mentioned, there are previous videos that you can look at on the channel that will get you a little more up to date. And the only thing left is to really just tune in, wait for the next video, subscribe, and as always, I will see you all next time. Adios.